A testing 1 2. Am I coming through to you? Should be. And if I am, then welcome to the Sunday live stream here on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. Thank you for joining me to see the week out on the channel. FSM is the dog, first in the chat. Nice one, getting an early start there. How you doing? Great to see Doc Davies as well, and Kit in the chats. Hope you've had a good week. Great to see you once again. Well, I'll start off with a shout out and a credit to the creator of this amusing meme. That's Merritt Burton at Chaotic Hamster. Let's put that together. Something I've come across. And yeah, it's quite true. Trickle down was nonsense even back then. Quite right there. FSM is the dog. Thanks for throwing up the Palestine flags earlier as well, Kit. So yeah, the week's got off to quite a close, hasn't it, with this developing story today. Syria has fallen. The second city, Aleppo, was captured a few days ago. And now President, well I guess technically now former President, effectively, former President Assad has been forced to flee. He was missing for quite a while, but it was recently announced that he's in Moscow, where he's seeking asylum. Shall we dip into the lounge? Let's dip into the lounge for some fondue.
Everyone's got it. Now you can got it too. The f***ing audacity. Now in a can.
Here we are again. Get yourself a cocktail stick and enjoy some fondue. With Keith. Again, not been a great week for Keith. In my most recent content, I did do a video about his latest relaunch. He says it's not a relaunch, obviously it is. So he's got targets now, you know. They've had missions and pledges and God knows what else. First steps, all this kind of thing. Please do check that out if you haven't seen it already. That's gone from members only, or members first, I should say, to public now. Yeah, and please do give it a boost around your social media as well, people. I'll be honest, I'll throw my hands up. Made a bit of a mistake when I was uploading the video with the timing for it to come out of members first to public. So yeah, if you could do that, that would be awesome, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. Fondant. Andy Carter, great to see you. And in with a bang in the chat there with that one. Keith is serving up fondant. That's quite right. I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't partake if I was there. And I definitely wouldn't be in the same room as Peter Mandelson, that's for sure. Someone get that nice couple and that dog out of there. This is, you know, this is not the party they were expecting. Floor Snake, great to see you as well. So where was I? Yeah, the 6 targets that Keith set, and whilst I'm on the topic, I'm going to refer to the poll, which I've put up in the chat. Please do partake in that, because in the video I just mentioned, I made a sort of tongue-in-cheek remark about whether he'll be Prime Minister come the next election. So that's tonight's poll question. Will Starmer still be Prime Minister the next time we go to the ballot? Yeah, please do vote in that and make sure that you've hit the thumbs up button and such. And if you've not subscribed, please do so. You can join the chat just 60 seconds later. Also, customary shout out to all of the members on the channel. If you want to be added to this list of fantastic comrades here on my left eye, it's just 99 pence. With some perks, including, as I just mentioned, members first content. There's other stuff too that you can use, like static emojis on the chat. So yeah, the votes are coming in there on the poll. Thanks for that too. And as always, the preferred way to spread the love and solidarity on the channel is with gifted memberships for other viewers. Thanks to those of you who've done that recently, or ever throughout the history of the channel, in fact. Yeah, because that not only gives the channel a boost, it also helps to spread our community here. Edward Sexby, thanks for jumping in the chat, hope you're well. And Kit's just displayed some of the aforementioned static emojis there. Thanks for that, Kit. What have we got there? Which ones? That looks like 30p Lee. Looks like Just Stop Hoyle, Lindsay Hoyle. Tony Blair's Iraq War selfie. And Diane Abbott's, I think, is the other one I can see there. Just a few examples. I will be adding more soon, actually. Yeah, and also coming up on tonight's agenda, there was the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral in France, and there were many international delegates there, including Donald Trump. Prince William was there as well. Have a quick look at that. But it's been typical Trump stuff. Turning handshakes into mini boyish arm wrestling contests and things like this. He just can't help himself, really. Also, where Keith's concerned there, that also, I know it's not really a massive thing, but it means that Prince William was the first from the UK to actually meet Trump since he was elected. So, sort of upstage Keith a little bit there, not that I am a fan of monarchy. Of course, being a socialist, I'm also, in the sense of whether I'm in favour of a monarchy or not, a staunch Republican, but not in the American political context, just to be overwhelmingly clear about that one. Hope things are coming through to you okay. I've just got a bit of a notification about the smoothness of the stream. Please let me know in the chat if there's any buffering. I might have to try and tinker. Becca, thanks for joining us as well on the stream and in the chat. Great to see you as always. And you clearly agree with me on the monarchy there as well, I can see. Yeah, I would imagine that's the prevailing opinion here on my left eye. So, thanks again for joining us, Becca. Get into things in just a moment or two. don't have a comedy video queued up, as I usually do at the start of streams and stuff, unfortunately. But I do have something that might put a smile on your face with a more light-hearted story before I get into matters of the overthrowing of Syria. I did mention recently that former MP Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Haunted Pencil, the Minister for the 19th Century, as he's also known, was having a stab at reality TV. As I said, when I mentioned this on the stream, I've not checked any of it out. I think it was on ITV, an ITV show. But the good news is that it's going to be scrapped because of poor ratings. Unsurprisingly. So, just the one season, not quite the hits he was hoping for. Thanks for the feedback on the sound. I hope the mic's not cut. I've got a smooth signal here on the broadcasting software. It's the YouTube streaming software that appears to be the problem. Thanks for the feedback. Thank you, Chris, for the 5 gifted memberships as well. Great stuff. Awesome. Great to see you back as well. As always, solidarity. Lounge dipped out for a moment there. So yeah, I hope you 5 new members enjoy your perks if you're listening live or on a replay. Thanks again, Octo, for that. Great stuff. Wonderful supporter of the channel. Right, where was I? Yeah, the Rees-Mogg show. Let me know what you think about that. I don't know if you were unfortunate enough to have sampled any of it, even by chance. You might have just been skipping through the channels or whatever, rather than deliberately seeking it out. But if you did, then I don't know. Don't know how slightly curious I am. I'm not curious enough to watch it, that's for sure. And the votes are still coming in on the poll, which I will be revealing at the end of the stream. Ha ha ha, it's a gimmick, you see, so stick around to the end of the stream if you want to know the results of the poll. So we'll part ways with Keith and the gang for now. Just get into this developing story. Let's bring back the old improv jazz background music. Turn that down a bit though. Yeah, that's right, Floor Snake. At home with the Rees-Moggs. The Rees-Moggs. Smogs. Yeah, but it's crashed and burned immediately after conception and broadcast. You're right, Becca, it does sound atrocious. Sounds like people would rather watch grass grow, from what I've heard. So yeah, we'll have some nice soothing improv jazz while we discuss the escalation of conflict in the Middle East. This is quite something, people. Just bring the background music back up. Apologies. Oh, it's not that one. That's Bruise at 10. There we go. So Assad's in Moscow. As you can see there, he's fled. Syria is going to be given asylum. That's been announced. People were like, where the bloody hell is he? All day. I don't think there were any suggestions that he might have been under attack or not survived or anything like that. They just didn't know where he was. But anyway, obviously Russia's a key ally, as some of these bullet points mention. This isn't great. I mean, obviously, it was a regime in Syria. Assad, well, his family had been in power for over 50 years, 54 years in total. He himself had been in charge for about 24 years, since around the year 2000. And it was a authoritarian, dictatorial regime, of course, but this now actually confirms a lot of things that, well, I say we suspected before, but we knew about before. It just doesn't really get widely broadcast, including Israel's involvement. So now we can see that Israel are definitely supporting groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, as we strongly suspected before. I think now, especially with Assad going to Russia to seek asylum, that brings Russia into play in this situation a lot further. They have supported them before. There was a takeover of Aleppo, the second city, in 2014, I believe, and Russia helped the Assad regime to retake Aleppo. So the dust isn't settling as we speak. I think this isn't the end by any means. These are my initial reactions. So it also says Assad fled when the rebel group HTS swept into the capital this weekend. Earlier, the leader Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani addressed cheering crowds in a Damascus mosque. There have been a lot of people who are celebrating this. There are a lot of people who are also concerned. And I think this is very divisive as well. It's another recipe for things like civil war, as well as a widening escalation, as we predicted for a long time here on My Left Eye, within the Middle East itself. And it's America as well that are supporting this, as well as the UK and Israel. And that's another element to this, that's another thread about this. The irony of ironies that the United States of America has actually ended up supporting ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani has had previous links with. But what a time to be alive. You wouldn't have imagined, I don't think anyone who was around at the time of the World Trade Center attacks and so on and so forth could imagine the United States ever helping to support ISIS. The creation of Al-Qaeda to help countries like Afghanistan attack Russia in the 80s and 90s is another matter. I won't get into that. So I'm using the Beeb. They're the only Western news organisation reporting from inside Damascus. You can see the article says there. Let's pick out some of the latest points. But first of all, I want to show you a clip of the announcement about Israel's attack. So they've more or less paved the way for the HTS to come and take down Damascus and with it take control of Syria and dispose of former President Assad. It was Sky who reported this.
Everyone's got it. Now you can got it too.
Apologies. This is it.
Breaking news on Syria, and this time related to Israel, and Israeli airstrikes are being reported by Reuters, saying that Israel has targeted customs headquarters and military intelligence in a security complex in the Kafr Sousa district of Damascus. They're being described as from two regional security sources. So reports from two regional security sources speaking to Reuters news agency that Israel has targeted the customs headquarters and military intelligence in security complexes in Damascus. There's also reports of Israel bombing the main research center in the Syrian capital. This report says that that was long suspected of being used by Iran to develop long-range guided missiles. That, of course, Iran, a close ally of President Bashar al-Assad.
That's another important element, I think. Obviously now this will increase Iran as a player in this, as well as Russia, like I just mentioned. And I think, if anything, it's going to give further incentive for Iran to launch retaliatory attacks against Israel. As so many countries are involved in this, it's, you know, there's so many threads and elements here, but what it's boiling down to, like with many escalations in history, it's alliances, it's allyships, and when you go up the chain and they get all the way to so-called superpowers like the Russian Federation, the United States of America, things start to get messy historically. Tig Tigs, thanks for joining us in the chat as well. Great to see you. That's a very good point. FSM is the dog. While a lot of people over here will probably cheer the fact that Assad has been deposed, it's not going to be long before we get a flood of Syrian migrants for the right wing to scream at. So that's what the likes of GBBs and such will be going on about in future, even though right now they might be saying, oh, this, you know, again, ironically supporting groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who are vastly different from groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, I do have to emphasise as well. Because of course, Hezbollah have been involved in this, whilst Israel again have helped to open a corridor for the takeover of Syria with its attacks on Lebanon to sort of keep Hezbollah busy and unable to support Assad in Syria, which has happened previously. So that's been the case, even though Hezbollah have firmly held off the IDF in Lebanon. Right. At the risk of going off on a tangent.
That's another bombing. And earlier we heard from the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights. They were reporting other Israeli airstrikes. They said that there had been Israeli airstrikes targeting the area of Al-Meza military airport in the capital, Damascus. And they say that Israel also targeted the vicinity of a village of Betima in the Jabal al-Sheikh area in the western countryside of Damascus. They say that violent explosions followed by a massive rise in smoke from the targeted sites. They have no information about casualties right now, and they said that this is one of a number of strikes by Israel targeting Syrian territory in a matter of hours. Clearly a fast-paced and developing situation between Israel and Syria. Of course, earlier we heard that statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu saying that he was seeing this as an opportunity for Israel and for change in the area. We'll bring you more on that as and when we get it.
That was a report from Sky News there. Just jump into the chat, let's see what's happening. Got problems with the audio here, just one sec. There we go. I do need a bit of a equipment upgrade, but that's where things like gifted memberships also help. Thanks a lot again for that, Octo. And you think that the next Prime Minister will be Donald Trump, and you're not even joking? Well, one American that's definitely trying to, or seems set to be having an influence, of course, is Musk, who's going to be giving Farage about 80 odd million pounds. But that's another story. Let's get back to the latest. This is one of the live reports from the ground. Let's take a look at that. While I was watching some of the footage earlier, I believe it was the same reporter who you can see here. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the name. But there were explosions happening just right behind her. I mean, it must have been within a couple of miles of where she was standing. I guess because you would see the flash first, and then obviously you hear the explosion later. So just roughly calculating by the time difference between the flash and actually hearing the explosion, she must have been quite close. Can't really hear all the shots. Oh, apologies. I'll just restart the clip. The audio wasn't. But you can't really hear it because of the gunfire anyway.
This is the moment where both rebels and civilians are gathering in celebration of the situation here after the toppling of the regime and departure of President Assad.
So those were the moments when the rebels overtook Damascus. Thanks for the super chat as well, Chris. Awesome stuff. And also thanks Andy Carter for 5 gifted memberships. Solidarity to you both. Great stuff. Many thanks for that. And I see Mobius has joined us as well as... oh, sorry, no, that's in the gifted memberships list. Mobius, though, great to see you. You can't see it, but I am waving back. This channel is currently faceless. You never know, though. Oh, thanks a lot for that, Octo, as well. I hope I'm worth it. Alright, I'll get back into the article. Just as soon as I get the background music back on. There we go. That's more or less the latest, just a couple of points, just a couple of other points. If you want to know, that's the geography there. Damascus in the south, and Aleppo, which was overtaken in the north a few days ago. Speaking of maps, though, I'm going to obviously be bringing up Israel's involvement in this a lot as they continue not only to occupy Palestine as well as attempt to infiltrate Lebanon unsuccessfully so far. Of course, this development is massively within their interest where the Golan Heights are concerned, so they're not actually pointed out on this map. But the Golan Heights is something that Netanyahu has had his sights on for quite a while now. Assad had been in, you know, a back and forth battle over the area. But I think now that really increases the likelihood of the Golan Heights being occupied by Israel. Something else to consider. That's a picture of that's a stock photograph, I believe. That's not, since he's sought asylum in Russia, I should say, but there hasn't, as far as I know, been any official declaration from Putin or the Russian Federation about this. It just says, by sending thousands of troops to shore up President Assad in 2015 it was, sorry, not, I said 2014 I think earlier. One of Russia's key objectives has been to assert itself as a global power. It was Vladimir Putin's first major challenge to the power and dominance of the West away from the former Soviet space, and a successful one too, so it seemed. In return for military assistance, the Syrian authorities awarded Russia 49-year leases on the air base. Well, Hmaimim, is that Hmaimim? Am I pronouncing that correctly? And its naval base in Tartus in Russia. Hmaimim, apologies for getting that wrong. Russia had secured an important foothold in the Eastern Mediterranean. The bases became hubs for transferring military contractors in and out of Africa. Assad was Russia's staunchest ally in the Middle East. The Kremlin had invested heavily in him. It had poured resources, financial, military, political, into keeping him in power. The Russian authorities will struggle to present his toppling as anything but a setback for Moscow. Obviously it is a bit of a setback for Putin and for Russia, but you know, him being who he is, I don't think he's going to let this one lie. We're definitely going to see some sort of military intervention by Russia. So now, yeah, you've got Russia essentially versus the United States and Israel in this proxy battle, the latest proxy battle between the two as well. Whilst they're not directly at war, they're using other countries as the battlefield. This is the way it's done these days. There are hardly ever any official declarations of war anymore, as we know. Things just seem to escalate, and the modus operandi at the moment is to do it in countries like Ukraine, Syria now, Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, the list goes on and on and on. And the more countries get involved, unfortunately, the quicker you edge towards all-out war, which is obviously not something that I'd like to see. Edward Sexby are also concerned about Turkey. That's another good point. The PKK controls areas in Turkey and Iraq too. But speaking of Iraq, this I think is as significant of an issue in terms of a leader in the Middle East being forced out since, I guess, Saddam Hussein during the Second Gulf War. That's Jalani there in the middle of the picture, if you're not familiar. And of course, as I said, he's got links to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In 2013, the United States named him as a specially designated global terrorist and offered a $10 million reward for information that would have led to his capture. Well, there he is now, you know exactly, you know, they're backing him up now. This is how, I mean, I'm going to drop a few bombs here. If I'm going to be completely honest about how I feel about this situation, it's just completely and utterly fucking ridiculous. It was only 20 years ago that mainstream media, the United States, the UK, everybody was saying that groups like this were literally the enemy, the biggest enemy on the planet. And now they're being supported to overthrow, yes, an authoritarian dictator, but just irony beyond comprehension. The rebel leader has for years endeavoured to shift the perception of his organisation to one that could be accepted by Syrians as an alternative to the Assad regime. His Islamist militant group has played a key role in bringing down the Assad regime itself. HTS was set up in 2012, but under a different name, the Al-Nusra Front, and pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda just the following year. In 2016, broke ties with Al-Qaeda and took the name Hayat Tahrir al-Sham when it merged with other factions a year later, but the United Nations, the United States and the United Kingdom, 3 Uniteds there, and a number of other countries continued to consider HTS as an Al-Qaeda affiliate and frequently refer to it as Al-Nusra Front. Super Tiny, thanks for joining us in the chat. You are quite correct, the world is a large pot of insanity these days. This is nuts, it's crazy, what the... This is what Ursula von der Leyen has had to say about it. The President of the European Union, of course. She says the fall of Assad's cruel dictatorship will offer opportunities, but not without risks. Yeah, no shit. She says Europe will help safeguard national unity and rebuild a Syrian state that protects all minorities. We are engaging with European and regional leaders and monitoring development, she adds. Speaking of which, I do have a bookmark here, which I'll bring up now. It's from Keith's Twitter. I've saved the link for the post instead of just the picture itself, because I want to go through some of the comments as well with this one. This is his 2 cents. Always Twitter, never X. Yeah, I do think I'm going to be setting up a Blue Sky account, to be honest, next week. But for now, you can give us a follow. You can see there it's at MyLeftEye UK, and on Mastodon it's just at MyLeftEye with the capitals at the start of each word. So just put that in the middle. Read this out. Shall I do the voice? Shall I do a Keith voice? I don't know. Bit of pressure there. I normally just do it spontaneously. It is a serious matter though. I won't do the voice. Probably not. The developments in Syria in recent hours and days, see, I'm tempted to do it now, in recent hours and days are unprecedented, and I can hear his voice in my head, is the thing, as I'm reading it. So yeah, it's unprecedented, and we are speaking to our partners in the region and monitoring the situation closely. The Syrian people have suffered under Assad's barbaric regime for too long, and we welcome his departure. So, yay! Yay, ISIS! That's what Keith's saying. And the next minute, it's going to be stop the gangs, stop the boats, pandering to Farage. And as we mentioned earlier, and as was brought up in the chat, should any of other people who are fleeing Syria end up in the UK, guess who's going to be stood on the coast pointing? Yeah, it's going to be Farage, Tice and Keith. Do need to extend this background music as well. So where was I? He says, our focus is now on ensuring a political solution prevails and peace and stability is restored. We call on all sides to protect civilians and minorities and ensure essential aid can reach the most vulnerable in the coming hours and days. Well, what's going to happen now if you look at where Al-Qaeda have overtaken other countries like Iraq, which they have done now for all that happened in the 2000s after, you know, the events of September the 11th, 2001, however you want to name them, the Trade Center, Pentagon attacks, whole other kettle of fish. But now, after all that, Iraq has essentially ended up in the hands of Al-Qaeda as well. And that's what's going to happen in Syria now. For those of you who aren't familiar with what groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda are about, just some of the worst elements about it is it's obviously massively misogynistic. Women's rights to education and other such things are restricted. It's just one of the elements. What you kind of can't do or say in public as well. Very extreme stuff, you know. It's just replacing one form of authoritarianism with another. So let's have a look at some of the comments. This, like most of Keith's posts, hasn't gone down very well. Oh dear. So I'm going to sneeze. Sausages! Excuse me. Straight in there. Hey up, lovely. Says, literally nobody wants to hear your thoughts on this, you fat ugly wanker. Go cheat on your wife again, mate. The only thing you're any good at. So Sheru asks, just a quick one, is Shamima Begum a heroine now? Shouldn't the British government allow her to come home since she's on the side of the guys who toppled Assad, just like the British and American governments are? Good point. This looks like a right-winger. Here's your former leader who you wanted to be Prime Minister of this country. I think you mean of this country. God. You make it up as you go, don't you? Well, he didn't want Corbyn to become Prime Minister, obviously. That's why he stabbed him in the back. Get with it. Okay. The people in the south of Syria, Martin Gore's saying, now suffer from the Israeli regime. Will he criticise them for invading and occupying the south of Syria, or ignore Zionist crimes as you always do? Suppressed News also posted there that Israel have issued a warning to the residents of southern Syria. Unfortunately, I'm unable to translate that. Oh, there is a translation. Let's just open that up. To the residents of southern Syria, it lists the places. I won't go through the list. Fighting in your area forces the defence forces to act. Forces the defence forces. They made you do it. Yeah, honestly. And they do not intend to harm you. For your safety, you must stay in your homes and avoid leaving until further notice. Be aware any movement or presence outside your homes exposes you to danger. Fucking Israel. The amount of times they think that they can make declarations like that to citizens of another country. They say, oh well, we did try to warn them. As though that's any kind of defence. Or I do have a clip coming up soon as well, the latest one from David Mensa, the spokes, who I've brought up a few times before on the channel, but the latest one from him, and I think I'm actually going to do a video about that tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. I'll give you a first look at the clip I'm talking about though on the live stream, because I'm good like that, you know, and you're all fantastic people for joining me this evening, so I'll treat you. Right, just a couple more comments and I'll have to get moving on. While the West spreads propaganda to its citizens about the liberation of Syria, Israel, the West proxy in the Middle East, issues death threats to the Syrian people. That's from Stop the Bollocks with Mirabelle. And that's another good point underneath as well. And so it begins. This is a recipe, like I said, for things like civil war, the increasing escalation, Israel's ludicrous plans for the Middle East on the whole, and you can see it there clear as day. That's, you know, Jabal al-Sheikh. Clear as day. That's the IDF. That's the reward that they mentioned earlier on. They've changed their minds now though. These are the good guys, according to people like, you know, Biden, Keith. $10 million. Well, I might ring up. I know where he is. He's in fucking Damascus, isn't he? Obviously. Go get the money. Quick. The line's probably engaged by now, though. Yeah, I should get on Blue Sky. I wish I had more clips tonight. I could just get into setting up an account whilst one of those is playing. But I do have the Mensa clip. Yeah, I'll go through the Mensa clip first before I get onto this stuff in France. The Notre Dame Cathedral. Notre Dame Cathedral. Comes with a pre-warning as always, David Mensa clips. This one will probably make you piss boil a bit, if you'll pardon the expression. He's something else. Israeli spokes are always, you know, awful. You look at the likes of Zippy Hollabelly, people like that. But I think David Mensa's probably just marginally the worst. Not only is literally every sentence is not true, but the things that he accuses Palestine of and refers to historically with the H word, you know what I mean, are exactly the kind of things that Israel themselves are doing, and that's what makes it worse. But I'm not overemphasizing when I say that literally every sentence that comes out of this guy's mouth is completely and utterly false. It's only a short clip. Like I said, I'm going to do further analysis of it, as well as Israel's overall propaganda in a video tomorrow, hopefully. So I'll just let it play through. Do let me know what you think about this, though. Let's just see if anyone's joined us in the chat before I do. Martin Arnold, great to see you. Thanks for sharing your blue skies as well, Becca. Once I've set up an account yet, I'll of course add you all. I'll let you know what the handle is on the channel. I'm still tempted to actually do that right now, to be honest, just to get the ball rolling. Let's see. I'll have a think. You can let me know in the chat. All right. Try not to get too stressed. Here's David Mensa.
This report's supposed to be impartial.
This is all about the, I should say, as well, before we go into it, that obviously they've been condemned by so many international organisations who have said that Israel are committing a genocide. And one of the latest ones is people like Amnesty International. So that's what he's responding to, as you can see there. He says it's fake news. Yeah, which definitely... Israel's never put out one piece of propaganda in its, 70-odd year occupation of Palestine, has it? Honest.
Ridiculous. Amnesty have got a record as long as your arm of criticising Israel. I think they don't even agree that Israel should exist. They think...
No prizes for guessing that, as always, the first thing he's going to go to is to accuse them of being anti-Semitic. He's also probably, no doubt, going to try and make some links between Amnesty International and either Hamas or Hezbollah or something like that. It's very predictable. They go in a certain order. It's always dickheads like Mensa who are sent to shovel up this, serve up this absolute crap.
We were born guilty in 1948, even though we've got a 3,000-year link to this land.
You don't. You've misinterpreted, a Bible. You tried to link Israel to the Israelites. That's not historically true, even if the Bible was correct. But I'm saying this as an atheist myself, but pointing at a Bible and saying that gives you a right to occupy and displace millions of people is incorrect. And to try and label anyone who criticises that as an anti-Semite, it's just pathetic. It really is pathetic. So they have absolutely no right to that land whatsoever. It was the Balfour Declaration and other factors that created Israel at the end of the 1940s, and ever since then, all they've done is oppress Palestine beyond comprehension, done unspeakable things, the worst things that humanity is capable of. That's what they're doing right now.
So, unfortunately, being maligned by Amnesty is of no surprise to anyone here. They exist. Their raison d'etre is to criticise Israel. They do that at every opportunity. And this is sadly just another example. And to be frank, Mark...
Well, obviously you're going to get criticised if you inflict a collective punishment on millions of people, David. And this is the thing with Israel and their spokespeople. They won't tell you the legitimate way of criticising Israel, as though there's some sort of exception. They have this real sense of exceptionalism and hubris. They can't tell you how you can legitimately criticise their country specifically for its actions. That doesn't exist to them because they think that they're so special. Israeli Zionists, that is. And insulting people's intelligence in not being able to distinguish a country from a religion is the most insulting part about it for me, as well as how much they continue to repeat it. They think we're stupid. They think we're absolutely stupid.
I'm surprised that you, a grandee of British journalists, don't see through this obvious fake news for what it is. Fakery.
Well, look, it's a report that's come out and I'm putting it to you.
It's not any, fake news. That doesn't even mean anything. That's bullshit. That's something that Trump invented and is essentially... Because, all right, where fake news is concerned, there's propaganda. Yes, which is obviously a false way of reporting events. But you also have altered content, be it pictures, videos, and whatnot. Yes, that's fake. But fake news, how can this be any, you know, how can you describe this as anything like fake news? This is what's happened. Amnesty International have said that they've observed a genocide. It's as clear as that. That's a fact. That's not fake. Mark Austin here, who should be doing a far better job at interjecting Mensa's lies, by the way, just points out
what it says.
That he just put it to him that that's what Amnesty International have said, and he wants to get his opinion on it. It's not fake news. It's pathetic, David.
The interesting thing, it did say that it talked about Israel's argument that its actions can be justified by its military goal to eradicate Hamas. But it says genocidal intent can coexist alongside military goals. So,
obviously, and they generally do as well, as Mark Austin says there. Are you quite right about Mensa in the chat too, Edward Sexby? He's got the temper control of a toddler, and any time he's challenged it is hilarious. He goes bright red and he splutters and shouts. It's just a tummy tickle by Sky. And he does that, and it's, you know, the Oscar goes to somebody else, David. What's the phrase I'm looking for? He's a bad faith actor. He's, yeah. Along those lines.
it says in the quote, regardless of whether Israel sees the destruction of Palestinians as instrumental in destroying Hamas or as an acceptable byproduct of this goal, this view of Palestinians as disposable and not worthy of consideration is in itself...
You banged your thumb with a hammer, floor snake, drew a face on it and put a little jacket on your hand and instantly regretted it when you realised you had a mini Mensa on the end of your arm. Yeah, he does go very red. He does go very red.
Evidence of genocidal intent. I mean, so they're saying, you know, two things can be true. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I think we as the Jewish people recognise what genocide is. It's what my grandparents experienced. It's when they were lined up in front of a pit and had bullets put in the back of their heads.
That is happening in Gaza. That is happening in Gaza right now. You know, dare say that could have happened today. It's been ongoing for a very long time. Those things that you just described is exactly what your country's doing, David. Exactly. That's the biggest irony of this as well. He's trying to use what the fascists in Germany did against Jewish people as some sort of defence here.
With entire villages.
And FSM, you're right. Those who cry AS ought to learn the fable of the boy who cried wolf. It detracts away from genuine cases of anti-Semitism, as I've said so many times before. And it also insults, historically, those victims who he's referring to. I believe it was 6 million Jewish people, as well as other minority groups, of course, but the majority of them being Jewish. And as well, as a staunch anti-racist, if it was genuinely anti-Semitic, then I would be against it, as would millions of other people who know that anti-Semitism, real anti-Semitism, is abhorrent and is something that needs to be eradicated, as well as all other forms of racism. I would be against it. But I'm not, and I don't buy this crap that Mensa's trying to convince us with for 1 second. Get real, man.
and entire towns and the Jewish communities have been.
Does he look like Ronnie Barker? I think he looks a little bit like... maybe Ronnie Barker kind of mixed with, I don't know, former Kids TV presenter Timmy Mallet or something like that. I don't know. No, that would be an insult to Timmy Mallet and Ronnie Barker.
Of most of Eastern Europe wiped out. That was genocide with intent to destroy the Jewish people.
Well, have you been to North Gaza lately, David? Do you know that there are military corridors so that you cut off and isolated millions of people who you are systematically, indiscriminately killing? And you're not looking for Hamas. We're talking about schools, hospitals, refugee camps. There were more examples of groups of tents being attacked. You've used white phosphorus on the population. I could go on ad nauseum. If that's not a genocide, then what in the bloody hell is it? Because remember, the definition of genocide refers to the intent, not the numbers. It doesn't matter whether it's thousands or millions of people. You are trying to eradicate every single Palestinian and occupy 100% of Palestine and beyond, including the Golan Heights, as we just mentioned, and areas of Lebanon. And you even refer to parts of other countries with names like Judea. You have your sights on them so much that you've already named them, and you're already trying to sell the land off that you're going to steal from other people as well. It's revolting.
This is a classic example of...
It's a classic example of your nonsensical bullshit, David.
Anti-Semitism. It is Holocaust in...
Penfold, yes, Penfold from Danger Mouse. Yeah, crumbs. Yeah, that's who it is. Penfold from Danger Mouse. Yeah, voiced by David Jason, of course. Most famous for things like Only Fools and Horses and more, not Morse. And A Touch of Frost. Morse was John, what's his face? He's no longer with us. I'm having a brain fart, but I won't get distracted with that. Penfold. Yeah, but the Penfold was nicer. Far nicer. Jim Speak, welcome to the chat as well. Great to see you too. Yeah, that emoji, that emoticon looks just like him as well.
Version. The crimes committed against my people, Israel, are now, in turn, being accused of this same...
Well, this, they say this my people. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll ask you this, David. If it is against your people, then why are the huge Jewish blocks on the ceasefire protest march? Why have you been condemned by Torah Jews, Orthodox Jews, all across the world, who are absolutely ashamed and horrified to have what Israel is doing associated with their religion? And they want no part in it. They absolutely want to set themselves apart from Zionism, because Zionism is not Judaism. It goes against the very principles of the faith itself. You don't have to be religious, you don't have to be Jewish to know that. But that is an undeniable fact. So again, if this was racist in any form, then anti-racists would be right behind you, but they're not. And if it was against the Jewish people, then Jewish people wouldn't be joining the protests and speaking out against Zionism, which they are. And you can't suppress that. They can't suppress that as much as they try. As much as they try to. John Thor, that was he. Thanks for that one, Becca, who played Morse in the old detective series. And everybody who I know who's Jewish as well absolutely condemns this too. And that's the truth. Just bring the background music back in. That's all. I'll get him off the screen now. Absolute little twat. Right. Move on in just a moment. I just need to top up my drink and such. Do stay settled for just a minute. I'll be right back with you. I'll put up a meme in the meantime. Let's just... I'll pick a random one. There we go. Be right back. I'll move on in just a moment, folks. Thanks for hanging on. Just a quick reminder as well, if you've not done so already, please do vote in the poll. Today's polling question: will Starmer still be Prime Minister at the 2029 general election? So either vote yes or no. Thanks a lot for all of your votes so far. I'll be revealing the results of the poll at the end of the stream. And I'll be right back with you people. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream as well. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I'm going to crack on with Trump's visit to France. Now, from one shit show to another. We've moved from the shit show in Damascus, a shit show, i.e. David Mensa on Sky News, and now another shit show, this time in Europe. In France. What a situation they've got there. They are effectively leaderless at the moment. I think Macron's got to go. Look what's happened. This is what neoliberalism does. Not only does it leave the door open for the far right, which has been happening here in the UK as well, by the way, but it leads to absolute calamities like this now that Barnier is gone. But don't worry, you know, Donald Trump's going to come and sort it all out, apparently. They made a brief appearance in front of the cameras. Let's have a look at that. Just bear with. I was pretty sure I uploaded the clip. Apologies, it appears I didn't.
Le feu a pris la cathédrale, je m'en souviens. President, I just it's a great honor for French people to welcome you 5 years later. And you were at that time present for the first time, and I remember the solidarity and your immediate reaction. So, welcome back again.
Well, thank you very much.
We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Very great honor. and we had a
Doesn't that just make you cringe? I mean, do you not know that this guy's a convicted sex offender, for God's sake, Emmanuel? Sorry, I'll just I'll put the clip there. There we go. Wasn't getting the live stream logo on. And the shaking hands, there's another clip. I've not got that queued up, but when they actually first met, he always does. He's such a dick. He always does this thing where he sort, you know, he shakes hands normally, and then he sort of grabs and messes about with their arm, with the hand, and he doesn't let go. And then they stood there for like 30 seconds while he's trying, you know, trying to act like a big tough guy. By the way, speaking of acting like a big tough guy, on another clip I saw where he shook hands with Prince William, as I mentioned earlier. We know that Prince William stands quite tall at 6'3", rather tall man. Trump also claims to be 6'3". When they were stood side by side, it was pretty clear that Trump was a good few inches shorter than Prince William. Not that Trump would ever be known to lie or embellish about anything to do with himself, of course.
great relationship, as everyone knows. We've accomplished a lot together, and the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in
the people of France mostly voted for a left-wing socialist party in the general election. This idiot, the president, obviously they have a president and well, they did have a prime minister. Now they don't. There's that vacuum. But they do structurally have a president and a prime minister. But this guy who doesn't know his arsehole from his earhole put up another so-called centrist or moderate, even though it was the left-wing socialists who got most of the vote, and that's what's led us to this situation. You get people who always try to force through a budget, and people weren't having that, and there was a vote of no confidence, and he lost.
the United States, French people. And,
he's got to go. Macron's got to go as well.
We love them. Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well.
Yeah. So just skip that back.
Groups in the United States, French together, and the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people, and we respect them and we love them.
Yeah, when Europeans eradicated all of the natives from America, a lot of them were French. Yeah, you're quite right there, Donald. That's what actually happened historically, of course. Britain had its part in that as well, of course, which is something that I'm ashamed to say.
Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is...
He sounds like he's talking about... He sounds like a basketball coach or something. We're working on defense and offense as well. Wow, crazy. Politics Clive, welcome to the chat as well. Great to see you too. And Octo, good to see you. You dress to the left as well as being politically left-leaning as well. That's great to know. Thanks for sharing that one with us. And FSM's the dog, you're correct. Centrists always run right. How many times I've pointed out before, however you want to define it, when it comes to the crunch or when the chips are down, whatever, they will always side with the rights, and it usually ends up being on issues such as immigration, for example, which we're seeing Keith himself do now. As I pointed out in other live streams and in my most recent video about how quick he was to jump out of his seat to go and shake hands with Nigel Farage when he literally hasn't spoken to people like Zara Sultana in years. Shows you what they're really about, doesn't it?
going a little crazy right now.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that.
Things are going a bit... Yeah, that's one way to describe it. And yourself, Trump. It's a little bit crazy. And the look on Macron's face as well here, you can see the gears turning, and he's basically saying to himself, please don't show me up, please don't show me up, please don't show me up. This is Donald Trump you're talking about. If you're going to stand there and let him speak about you or on your behalf, yeah, he's bound to mess up sooner or later.
Thank you very much for being here.
Merci beaucoup.
That was that. Like I said, this was for the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral, which suffered a terrible fire some years ago, which no doubt you'll recall. There were other dignitaries there as well. Catholicism is the most popular religion in France, of course, and the location of Notre Dame Cathedral was of particular significance to them. So yeah, that's Emmanuel Macron, as I said, shaking hands with and welcoming a convicted sex offender. What a lovely bunch of people, what a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen, even brothers and sisters. He did have to win to avoid going to jail, that's correct. He can pardon himself, he's going to be pardoning other people as well. Musk was under investigation on fraud charges, one of the district attorneys in states where he was running, you know, this sort of lottery thing, £1 million a day giveaway. I think that's going to be swept under the carpet as well. Because as Nixon famously said, I think that was during his world-famous interview with David Frost, wasn't it? When he said, but when the president does it, it is not illegal. Yeah. There will be no whitewash in the White House. Music. Yeah, when the fries are down, not when the chips are down. Thanks for that. Good point. Before I move on, I just want to quickly, I won't be screen sharing, just have a quick look for myself. 1 second. If there's been any breaking news or developments since I came on air. Don't want to miss out on bringing you the latest news here on My Left Eye. It does look like there's a story about Keith, who said a bit more about the situation in Syria. I'm just going to quickly check whether that's worth going into, otherwise I'll move on to something else. Well, actually, I was going to move on to something that concerns him anyway. Latest critique. Well, I'll just quickly share this. Been asked quite an important question, just to go back to this subject. Very quickly, just go through this. So obviously now that effectively Al-Qaeda ISIS forces are in control, he's been asked if the UK government would engage with them, and they've been set up as an affiliate of Al-Qaeda and prescribed as a terrorist group by the UK, as the article points out. He said it's early days, but that there needed to be a political solution. That's not really an answer, is it, Keith? Are you going to engage with them or not? You know, you've welcomed this. Are you going to give them a call and say, well done? He also said the developments in Syria, I'm not going to do the voice, in recent hours and days are unprecedented, and we're speaking to our partners in the region and monitoring the situation closely. Syrian people have suffered, yada yada yada. That's just a little bit more from his official tweet about it earlier, like I said. Ba-dum-ba-dum. What's floor snake? Get a hot dog where the sausage is too long for the roll, chop it in half, draw faces on the sticky out bits. You got 2 menses for the price of 1 hot dog and more intelligence. Nice one. It looks like you owe FSM is the dog a new keyboard for that one. Right, so yeah, this is one of the latest critiques of Keith from James Schneider.
Living standards.
Just one moment, that's James. He was on LBC. He used to be in Jeremy Corbyn's team in Labour, of course. I believe he was his press secretary. But he's obviously been massively critical of Starmer before, and this pretty much just sums up what he's got on his plate at the moment. Always good to see him on the media rounds, James Schneider. Always on point.
Been falling, and not really just for this parliament. We have now almost 2 decades of falling living standards for large sections of the population, and the macro is really bad. Geopolitical crises and stress, climate breakdown, rising costs, deglobalisation. The outlook is not good, and Labour's current plan, which is to say we'll grow the economy, how, not a word, is a recipe for Keir Starmer being the most hated man in Britain by the end of the Parliament. So I don't think it will be the left that removes him. I think that unless Labour develop some actual policies to deal with the many crises that we face that are bold and big, then the government will have a big mandate, will do nothing, and will be living standards.
I'm sure they'll be seen as a failure, yeah. Spot on there, James. You know, it's just been more of the same ever since they took over, and there are still, you know, a few people trying to say, well, it's just been 5 months and whatnot, but they've not even stayed stable. Things have gotten worse. There's no signs of improvement in any areas whatsoever. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. No amount of relaunches are going to do this. Yeah, take a look at this poll as well. Bring that up. Just cue that up. It was briefly in that last video. I showed you on the last live stream about the poll about his individual popularity tanking, but look at this from Stats for Lefties on the general election. Poll took place between the 22nd of November and the 2nd of December there. A 2-point lead for the Tories and just 5% in front of Reform. That's terrible for a party that's only been in office for 5 months. Given the poll lead that they did have in the run-up to the election, it just really goes to show how bad a start they've made. Look at that. That's unbelievable. It's just a reminder for you there. Rubbish, absolute rubbish, Keith. Good point, FSM. Growth on a finite planet is impossible. Time to come up with a new model. Yeah, that's capitalist doctrine for you, isn't it? Putting the foundations of the entire economy on something that's going to run out. In terms of the climate crisis, something that is literally destroying the planet is excused by capitalists because they think the financial costs would be too great. Lunacy, insanity. Right, people, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I'll be bringing things to a close. Just a moment, let's dip back into the lounge. Don't go anywhere though, people. Please stay glued to your seats. Thanks for sticking it out with me. I've got the revelation of the poll to come, and I will be redirecting into another channel, hopefully as well, at the end of the stream. So stay put, everybody. Let's do the poll reveal first. Actually, I'll just give it another minute if anybody hasn't voted yet. Final reminder. Thanks for your votes so far. Does look like we will have a winner though. If there's any final votes to come, I'll just I think we're back on now with the mic. Sorry, that seems to happen when I'm doing the member scroll on the top of the Fondue lounge for some reason. It just glitches with the broadcasting software. Yeah, thanks again to all of the members on the channel for the gifted memberships. I think that's what I was saying when the mic cut out. And just saying what a great audience we've got here on the channel. It's great to catch up with everyone in the chat as well. So, I'm going to bring the poll to a close. We do have quite a clear winner, I should say. And it's a resounding 75% of you say no. That's very clear. I dare say I'm in agreement with you. There's a long way to go. Obviously, this is going to be in over 4.5 years, probably. But I think there'll be a move against him. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it's going to come from areas of the right of the party, obviously. Not that there are really any genuine socialists left in Labour. I don't think it'll be Wes Streeting. I don't really think he'd have the backing for that. There's plenty of careerists, though, in Labour under Starmer, of course. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see perhaps someone like Angela Rayner try and make a move against Starmer. Possibly even Rachel Reeves. Who knows? Who knows? But I think, given how much his popularity's tanked, it's inevitable that they're going to want a stronger candidate at the next general election, so there'll be some form of move against him. Thanks a lot for the votes in the poll, I should say, while I put my teeth back in. Good point. Look how long Johnson lasted. And he had a thumping majority as well. Obviously, his main tactic was populism. But Clive, you're quite right. Nobody's got any strength behind him. Everybody's unpopular in Labour. Maybe Angela Rayner. That, yeah, obviously crossed my mind. Okay, people, let's see if anyone's streaming live to raid into. Final plug for the night as well. Like I said, please do make sure you've hit the thumbs up button. Check out that latest video as well, and please do give that a share around. Needs a bit of a boost. Oh, got quite a selection. Oh, some of those are upcoming though. We've got one live though. Yeah, Kevin Logan. Great stuff. So I might join you over there briefly as well. Alright, that's all set up. Good to go. Just seeing the chat as well. Some of you have been having some issues with the chat also. Sorry about any technical issues during the stream. I'll be back with you through the week for the brews at 10, of course, and I'm going to have some other video content as well. Like I said, I'm thinking of doing a video about the Israel spokes propaganda. And I'll try my best to jump over and join you in the chat with Kevin Logan for a bit shortly, but if I don't see you there, then enjoy the rest of your evening. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you've been wonderful. I've been your host Lefty on My Left Eye's Sunday live stream. Take care. Until next time, I'll be seeing you soon.